and we will see you all very, very soon. Take care.
Wow, TFNation was so much fun this year. I better get on to my vlog video. It shouldn't take too long. Better late than never, I guess? Alright, enough talk. Let's do this. Okay, yeah, I know, I joked about this video taking way too long to make, but let's be honest. I should have had this out much sooner. And more than anything, this video took way too long to make. But this video also went through a lot of different changes. Chief among them, I had some big drawn out intro talking about what my plans were for the holiday, what I was going to be doing, and so on and so forth. I'm just thankful I decided to cut this bit because it was way too drawn out, and I'm not a vlogger, if that wasn't evidence already. But moving on from that, Tuesday morning was the big day to be on the move, so once I was packed, I was ready for the road. Finally, I reached York Station, and I have to say, it is a giant place. I'd never been in a railway station this big before, but it was definitely a grand station. You could definitely feel a lot of the history in the place, but I was just so happy to be here. But I couldn't stick around for long, I had places to be. So, after leaving the station, I checked into my hotel, and a very nice little place it was too. But I couldn't stick around for too long because I had some sightseeing to do. I've never travelled too far in England. York is definitely the furthest I've travelled on my own, but you could just feel how old the place was. It was a very historic place, and I can definitely see myself coming back in the future. But I had some sightseeing to do, and as the following day rolled around... No, not that Wednesday, the other one! There we go. So Wednesday rolled around, and my first port of call was the Jorvik Viking Center. This was an incredibly cool place. They showed off some of the ancient Viking ruins that remain below York. It was very cool seeing what ruins had been unearthed over the years. But this was just the entrance. The main attraction was an underground tour of what the early years of York's settlement looked like. This was more sort of the Viking era, and you could definitely see a lot of these trademarks all over the place. If I'm going to be honest, this part of the tour, even though I was incredibly excited for it, was a little bit of a letdown. Underground, you didn't realize just how far down you went in the sort of overhead rail car that you were in. It did look very cool being able to look around and see all of the attractions, but it did feel very claustrophobic. And on top of that, all the straw that was used left the air very stale. Mind you, I still would recommend this to people if you are interested in history, but personally, I didn't have that much fun with it. So I would give it a 3-star rating. Mind you, I do still feel like I'm being very critical toward it, but I'd rather be honest. After the tour was done, it was time to see more of Old York itself. And there was so much to see. I've travelled all throughout Ireland, and there are a lot of very old historical places, but seeing York like this, York is just another breed entirely. There was just so many old landmarks and everything. York Minster was probably one of my favourite places, just with how giant and grand it was. As you can see here, they were doing a lot of extensive work to the stonework on the outside of the building. So yeah, it was very, very impressive. Even just watching the footage now just really undersells just how giant this place was. But I couldn't stick around for too long, because up next was the main reason I came to York in the first place, the National Railway Museum. So I made my way over calmly. Okay, so I may have lied on that bit, but come on, I was excited. I had been wanting to see this place for so many years. Anyway, on my way to the museum, I passed by a little road train full of tourists. Shout out to the one guy that waved hello. But this was the big thing. This was the main reason I attended York in the first place. The National Railway Museum. My time in York had come to an end, and Thursday was the big day to be back on the move. So today I'm going from York to Birmingham. One small problem. Nobody told me just how far from York Birmingham was. I was stuck on this train for like 2 hours. Birmingham was such a long, long, long way away. But finally we reached the city. My first port of call after the hotel was the Bear Grylls Adventure, somewhere I'd been to last year and had wanted to come back to this year. This was so much fun. Unfortunately, this video was stuck in development for so long that in the interim, Bear Grylls Adventure shut down. Well, nuts. Well, thanks for all the memories. Anyways, after all that was done, it was time to head to the main hotel itself. I joined the queue for registration, and there were plenty of people there to pick up their tickets. That night I hung out in the bar with a few friends, made some new ones, and chatted away. And then Saturday morning kicked off. We had the opening ceremony, and it was really good. We had a good presentation, and everyone enjoyed it. After all this, the guests of honor were brought out. We had Michael Charles Hill, we had Greg Berger, Kathleen Kavari, and of course, the big man himself, Mr. David K. Beast Wars Megatron, Cybertron Trilogy Megatron, and of course, animated Optimus Prime himself. I also had the pleasure of being able to sit down and see the live premiere of the brand new animated movie from Crosshairs Productions, Transformers Shattered Glass. This was one I had been excited for a long, long time. They previewed a little bit of this footage the year before, but at long last it was done and the audience was ready to see it. And overall, I think they enjoyed it. Well, I mean, jury's still out on that one, but yeah, I think everyone enjoyed it. Because I'd been to the early premiere, I decided that I would skip the early access to the trading hall and watch it. This didn't work out to be such a great idea, because here is where I joined the queue. Now, if you've never been to TFNation, you're probably thinking, James, this is the end of a queue, I don't see what's happening. Well, dear viewer, you're in for a good one. This is a layout of the hotel. And here is the trading hall. All the way back in the bar is where I joined the queue, here. Which meant that the queue extended all the way down this hallway here, ventured off to the right, and finally ended here. I've been attending TFNations since 2018. This was my 4th year attending. I had never seen a queue so long. In fact, for the TFNation crew, it was the very first year they've ever had to impose a cap on the number of people allowed into the trading hall. I think, in terms of attendees, they reached almost 1,800 people this year, which is insane. But for the record, I'm not complaining, because once I finally got into the trading hall, I met some very, very cool people. I got to meet Greg Berger the second time through TFNation. Got to meet Kathleen Kavari, who was just so incredibly sweet. And of course, the big man himself, David K., who came up with the idea of this photo on the spot. I could just about hold it together before bursting out laughing. Meanwhile, this guy had absolutely no reservations. He was just laughing the whole time, and I can hardly say I blame him. After all that was done, I went across and had a bite to eat at the Resorts World with the Ascension crew. Joe, Matt, Dan, Sky, Kij, Ellie. I always enjoy hanging out with these folks. They're just always so much fun. And it's great being able to have a little group of friends to hang out with whenever you're at a big convention like this. I didn't attend as many panels this year as I thought I originally would have, but I did see a couple of ones that I thought were super cool. In the trading hall, we had a small desk set up for RoboSen, where they were showing off Grimlock and Megatron. I got to see some of the customs that have been made exclusively for the convention as part of the charity raffle through the customization panel they held on the Friday, which was a lot of fun. I also got to see a little bit of David Kay. And overall, it was just a great time, and I got to meet so many cool people along the way. But as the weekend drew to a close, I got the chance to step back and just admire everything I'd bought. I hadn't bought as much artwork this year, but I did bring some older ones with me to get signed by some of the guests. James Roberts, Greg Berger, and Kathleen Kavari in particular signed some of my artwork, which was very cool. And of course, my haul, which was a lot bigger than I had been expecting. But honestly, I have to say, I just really enjoyed just the chance to be able to go around the trading hall and pick up so many different figures. And what I love the most is that all the figures have a good variety to them this year. And more than anything, I got to pick up that Tarantulas, and that thing is just incredibly cool. But alas, the weekend came to a close, and before I knew it, I was back on the plane home. It's always funny going to TFNation. There's always such a big build-up to it, and then, in the blink of an eye, it's all over and you're on your way home. But I'm not complaining, because for me, I had a great time this year. Everyone was just so much fun, there was plenty to see and do. And this time around, I did stuff a little differently. Not everyone in the group hung out together, we all went off and did our own thing. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. Sometimes the group doesn't want to stay together and we just do our own thing. But all in all, I had a great time this year. More than anything, I was really happy with being able to go to York for a couple of days by myself. I'd never been so far inland in England before, and more than anything, I'd never been to York before, so it was great being able to travel to all these different places and meet all these different people. But in the lead into TFNation, we had a little bit of a group challenge. The 360verse, or Matt as he's appeared in this video, created this. Kind of a TFN to-do list, and something to just strike off whenever you had the chance. Now, I'll admit, I don't go into TFNation with the expectation of filling out everything on a potential to-do list, but I thought I would try my hand at it this year, or at least how many I would accomplish by accident. And given that this is what I accomplished, I have to say, I did pretty good. I mean, that's 19 out of potential 24? Overall, I think I did pretty good. Next year, I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish the same number of things, but I definitely would love to try my hand at it. And with that is the video drawn to a close. That is everything from TFNation this year and my England holiday. More than anything, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone for sticking around to the end of this video, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Wow, David Kay is so cool. Look how many people turned out for this. This was definitely a giant-packed Is that a giant inflatable T-Rex?
Yes.